This is Cresso, and this is part 65 of the Human Journal. Life is imagination. Wow, I've been looking forward to talking about imagination more so, and I always, a lot of my videos and, audios, always inspired by a conversation I had with a friend of mine, and me and her, we talk about a lot of deep, interesting topics, I'll just say maybe at least over half of the time it just fuels me up to record, because I want to invite everybody into the conversation we have, because it's just interesting stuff. But imagination is one of them, and we was talking about that yesterday, and something in me clicked more clarity about imagination. I was just thinking my higher self. I'm like, there's so much knowledge that's compounded in all of us, and if we just allow our higher, if we could just allow our higher self to, whatever we want to express or whatever, and sometimes it may not make sense half of the time, and that's okay. But I said to her yesterday that, I have to just really do this. I want to share to everybody about imagination, because something in me clicked, and more on a deeper part about imagination. So we could talk for hours, me and her, especially on this topic. I said to her, it's like, you know what? We just decided to get off the phone because she had other things to do, and I said to her, yeah, I'm going to record. So, but yeah, I'm just excited right now. I'm just actually just looking back. I've been doing a lot of videos and audios a lot and I got a lot of stuff to share, and I'm just confident a lot of people listen to my audio and videos that they inspired, and it's fun. I get so passionate about things, and it's fun to really take this opportunity to it's kind of like, I kind of look at it like this. It's like me giving back or contributing into life here on Earth. So I'm really excited, because we all have the ability to impact ourselves, one way or another, and all right, so I'm just gonna get to it about imagination. I listen to some people, and I watch videos, obviously, and I get an overall vibe about some people look at imagination. This is my overall just about what I get from other people. Some people look at imagination that it's just like some people are not in touch with reality. Some people not really doing the work physically, for example. Some people might describe somebody at what the whole thing with imagination is. Oh, you're just into fairy tale things. Same thing, like I said in the first example. People not in touch with reality, and a lot of people look down. Not everybody, but a lot of people look down on imagination. And honestly, when I hear that from some people, I say to myself, do some of these people, do they know, are they aware of what they're saying? And I do believe they are in a way. I just don't think they understand for that moment about what imagination really is. And in this journal, I'm going to talk about the basic things about imagination on the physical part, and then I'm going to talk about the other part about imagination, on a spiritual part of, the spiritual world. Now imagination, okay? Now, if anybody that been to school, right, you daydream. Teachers hate that. Teachers get all egotistic. They say, pay attention to class. And it's like, that kid is basically exploring what life really is. Yes, life beyond the damn classroom. And we all go through that, you're just using your imagination, and that's what we are. We are creators, whether you agree or not. I'm just gonna break it down on a more simplest terms about imagination on an everyday life. Now, look around you. Okay, look around you. Look at everything around you. Okay, everything that you use, or let's just say, okay, every invention, for example, that's in our everyday lives has been done by imagination. Okay, and yeah. Every invention has been done through imagination. Everything that's been molded in our life, however you want to describe it. You can look at yourself. You are imagination. And that's just your identity, for example. Whoever you are listening, shucks, I could go from inventions, I could go from your identity of a type of character that you decide to be, what role, same thing, what role you play in this life. All those things through imagination. And I realize with the human mind, it's filled with hypocrisy. Like it really acts like it doesn't know, in a sense, about imagination plays a very important role in this everyday life. Okay, let's just go down to the inventors of, let's say, the automobile, right? I'm not going to give out names. I'm just going to give out some general example. When the individual decided to come up with the idea to invent the automobile, that individual was laughed at. People saying, what are you talking about? What's wrong with the horse and buggy? And the person was literally laughed at. Because it didn't make no sense during that time era. It didn't make no sense. But that individual didn't stop there. The individual knew what type of reality it wanted. And it continued. And it invented the automobile that we all drive on an everyday basis. That very invention has been laughed at because it didn't make absolutely no sense. I go further again. Here's another example about airplanes. Right? The idea came up. Okay, the Wright brothers. Well, I've heard I think there was an individual in Germany who was the actually quote unquote first one, to invent the airplane. But I don't want to emphasize a name. I just want to get everybody to really go in about this whole thing about how imagination plays a big part in our lives. When the idea came up about airplanes, about, we're flying around the world, that was laughed at. It didn't make absolutely no sense. During a different time era, man thinks that, the only thing that flies in the air is birds. That's it. Yeah, the birds. And even though there's different errors that through different times, people have been spotting some unusual looking flying objects. They didn't know what it was. Some people call it the gods, for example. But anyway, that's a little bit off topic slightly. But anyway, about airplanes, it was just laughed at. I'm like, it didn't make no sense. That individual wasn't in touch with reality, for example. But did it stop the individual from continue on for saying, I picture myself flying from point A to point B in this world, and the individual continue on. So, you know, the funny thing is about a lot of people, it seems to be it's a pattern that I spot with this. You see, the ego selectively forgets that it takes some creativity, that means imagination, to implement something, an idea, right? But the ego plays the idea that, oh, well, it acts like, and it's very tricky. It would say, well, let's just build things with our hands, you know, and that's it. You know, there's no thought or anything of like, wait a minute, I got this idea. Where did it came from? Did your hands alone basically came up? Did your hand alone came up with the idea to build a plane or invent an automobile? No. Your hands are a tool, but it's more deeper than that. It's beyond your hands. It falls back with the imagination. And a lot of people, when we talk about ideas or when we imagine something about anything, people still laugh. There's some people, a great deal of people laugh about things that when anybody want to talk about through their imagination. They'll laugh, they're like, well, what are you talking about? Imagination. If you look at all your technology, right? If you look at your technology, everything's been done by imagination. I already covered a car, automobiles. What else? A furniture. Yes, a chair. Okay, all those things. You know, and you know, your smartphone and that app game that you enjoy playing every day. You know, the programmer invested its time, its energy to imagine about what type of app game, for example, to install on that cell phone. You know, and speaking of cell phone, you know, shucks, I'm thinking about Star Trek. I mean, the creator of Star Trek, he uses imagination, okay? And what happened is that he uses imagination, and I'm going to go deeper about the imagination real quickly. And when he used imagination about Star Trek, guess what? The idea of a flip phone or the communicator came into our quote-unquote reality, right? They're supposed to be a sci-fi film. But the idea that came out of that, we use every day for our convenience, right? So it's funny how the mind selectively forgets about important things that takes place of why or how things are shifted into this reality. So when people knock down imagination, honestly, I really feel that the individual for a moment don't truly or not aware for the moment about the true power of imagination. Let's just put it this way. Imagination, if nobody imagined, it would just be a blank page. It would just be a blank page. You will find yourself in the void. And yeah, that do exist, the void. I just covered the basic things in this reality about imagination so far. And I want to add this too. I want to add this part here. I want to call this the big three. The big three is 1, imagination, okay? 2, synchronicity. 3, manifestation. Those are the 3 things. Those are the things I call the big 3 that go hand in hand in the physical world and in the spiritual world. Okay? And when I say also the physical, this includes the multiverse, all the alternate realities and everything. Yes, the multi-realities or the multiverse, they go hand in hand together. It's a network. So how the big 3 really works, okay, just to give everybody a basic idea. I don't want to go too heady, and I don't want to over philosophize, because something like this is not like I know this is not an everyday conversation or topic. It depends who you are or what you are aligned to and to know certain things. But just to give you a basic idea about the big 3, when we imagine something, okay, synchronicity plays like the go-between. It's going to synchronize you, okay, into the experience that you imagine, and then it manifests. Okay, it will manifest, boom, right there, right in front of you. So yeah, I did a clip last year on synchronicity, the power of synchronicity. So synchronicity is not limited into the physical or spiritual. Synchronicity happens also in your dream state. Doesn't matter what awakened state you are, synchronicity will come to you. It will play its role. But imagination, to put it in simplest words, imagination is the bedrock. I just got to put it in a more simplest term for everybody to understand what I'm saying. Imagination, there's no boundaries. There's none. You could imagine there's a boundary, actually. You can imagine anything you want. And to say this very carefully, because the human mind analyzes things way too much, and the ego could sometimes be a stumbling block for you to be open. We can imagine anything we want. There's really no limits to anything. We pretend that there's limits, but actuality, there are no limits. I know a lot of people need to understand this truth abroad. And I know the spirit within people understands this. So I do my best not to worry about whether people are going to get it, especially what I'm talking about now. So imagination, you know, to go back with invention, I'm going to say this very carefully, okay? I already covered about the imagination, the basics, you know, in this realm. Now, imagination also, a lot of us, we take pride in when we invent something through our imagination, right? We think that we're the first, right? But we're not the first, okay? A lot of us go by linear time. Okay, a lot of people, not everybody, but a lot of people still believe in linear time. But actuality, there's really timelessness. A lot of people are starting to wake up more and more that time is not basically what we've been taught in school, in public school. People are open to timelessness, okay? That's basically overall what consciousness is, ultimately is timelessness. People are rediscovering the truth also that there's dimension, that everything goes backwards. There's different dimension that goes by different time speed, I call it. Time can be manipulated or tweak around however you want to do with it. Yeah, people, there's a lot of people starting to understand that, but still there's still more people still believing in the linear time space, and that's it. When you invent something, when you come up with an idea, you see, what your ego don't tell you, or it doesn't really know, is that the idea that come out, right, or what you speak about, oh wow, I got a great idea about such and such. That idea has already been done, already. It's not anything new. You see, and this is gonna really hurt people's ego. There is no new invention and there's no old invention. Like a lot of people talk about, for example, ancient technology. There is no ancient technology. If you look beyond all these things, everything happens simultaneously. Or I could just say that, or in a borderline of, let's say, timelessness. It's hard to grasp that in the mind, and as I'm recording this, my own mind can't get that. But I understand. So I'm doing my best to explain this very carefully. We have to throw the linear idea out. Now, as far as you coming up with an idea that you imagine, yeah, what I said earlier about the multiverse, you see, that idea that you come about, that's already been done, okay, in a different alternate reality, or as something that's very similar. Also, another thing too is that something that just hit me also, when you come up with an idea, right, the idea that comes out, I will call it, something hit me to tell me to share this to everybody, is that there's a hidden synchronicity. A hidden synchronicity, meaning it's not so obvious. Everything that you do or anything that you invent, it's been synchronized to you, that you're not aware in a certain level. So you, in a different alternate reality, came up with that idea also. It's just that it's synchronized to you in this reality. Or sometimes it may not be the exact same invention. It could be something very similar. Here's an example. The individual invented the automobile. He's saying that, yes, I'm the first one that invented the automobile. But then there's an alternate reality of himself that invented the automobile. But the difference is, that idea is like the Jetsons. That individual in that alternate reality say, you know what? I'm so tired of the horse and buggy. We need to just fly. We need to drive and have an automobile that could just literally take off and fly anywhere we want to. Just like the Jetsons. And that also exists. It does. That exists now. Also, and another thing too, if you ever wonder why a lot of us were so into flying cars, for example, because that reality exists. It does. So your ego either don't really see that or don't want to admit that. But whenever you're fascinated on something, it's because it's something that your spirit knows. Imagination also is like a window. It's a window, or it's like, you ever look at yourself in a mirror and you put a mirror right behind you and you see all those yous? It's like, it seems like it just keeps going and going and going and going. It's like a fractal. That's exactly what imagination is. It just keeps going. An idea that you imagine, that you presented to everybody, that's been done endlessly amount of times. I mean, there's no number, there's no linear. You can't put a number in it. And even though an alternate reality of yourself that implemented the idea is a fractal, it just keeps going. If this doesn't make sense at first what I'm saying, you know, I encourage anybody to replay this audio over and over just to understand what I mean. So a lot of, so we're fascinated on certain things because there's a reason. The creator of Star Trek, I think it's Gene Roddenberry. If I'm saying his last name, I'm not very good with names, but that's okay. The creator of Star Trek, okay? Yes, I look up his background. He served the Navy. Yes, a lot of the influence of Star Trek is based on his time with the Navy. But I want to go deeper than that. You see, his imagination. You see, what he implemented on the film, okay? That reality exists. There is an Enterprise that's circling around the Earth, for example, in a different reality. Yes. The imagination is a window to other realities. And it just keeps going. Okay? So there is really no old invention and there's no new invention. You understand? Consciousness molds things. It's like, you have to look at imagination as like a clay. It's like one big glob of clay. Right? And you mold it. And you keep molding it. And you keep molding it. Okay? And that's how it is. Synchronicity is like a transporter. It's going to transport you what you imagine. And it's going to manifest that to you in your reality at that very moment. Some people say, well, I imagined something and the idea came about years later. Okay, the thing is that the reason why we feel that way is because you're in tune of an idea of a time space that you agree to be in. So here's an example. There's been a bunch of times that when I think of something, imagine it could be whatever it is, right? The synchronicity happens very fast, like boom, like real fast, real fast. There's no explanation to it. It just comes fast. It manifests right there. Whatever I come with, whenever the idea I come with, it boom. Let's say if I think about, for example, let's just say a blue Tesla car. I'm sitting there imagining it. Imagine myself driving a blue Tesla car, right? I'm imagining it, and then what? Within 5 minutes, let's just put an idea of a time. 5 minutes later, I so happen to see a blue Tesla car. Wow. Your ego will say, oh, that's just a coincidence. No, not really. There is no coincidence. If you want to believe that idea, okay. But what it is that you imagine, it synchronized and it manifests. There you go. You see a blue Tesla car. And that's why I like to emphasize the big three. And it's real. Sometimes there's a lot of times that, me and my friend, when we talk about things, and a synchronicity sometimes will come later in that day. Or sometimes it'll come right away. I know a lot of us, we like to think about that we go by a 24-hour clock, but I do understand that the 24-hour time clock that you put there, everybody, and myself included, is that we agree on. But I'm not afraid to go beyond that. The 24-hour clock that we go by, okay, that's something that you agree. But I'm not afraid to go beyond that 24-hour clock. I'm not afraid to say that everything is timelessness. We're pretending that there's an idea of a time. I mean, yes, humanity operates on process a lot. Everything that humanity goes by is a process. And this is something that our higher self agree on. But if you go beyond, like I say, there really is no time. These are just experiences that we decide to go on. So imagination, okay, when you invent something or whatever comes about, imagination is a window that connects to endless amount of realities. It does. It's synchronized. Every idea, and matter of fact, every idea that you see around you, that's just a window of endless amount of realities. endless amount of reality. It's not originated from this dimension. No. Every idea that you see on Earth is just a reflection of other realities and other multiverse. I just wanna just really go deep with that. Yeah, I mean, shucks. I mean, we look at these movies, like I was saying about Star Trek, all these sci-fi movies. We say, oh wow, it's so cool, and it's so funny how the human mind works. We think that everything, oh, it's just a sci-fi movies. But again, I want to emphasize this again. Star Wars, these type of spaceships and all that, they do exist. I mean, let me just point this out too with the ego. I like to call this the ego self-defense. Okay, the ego self-defense to me is, for example, somebody, for example, saw a spacecraft, a multi-dimensional spacecraft that goes so fast, real super fast, and it just stops in a dime and it just vertically goes up. And the individual look at that and say, oh, well, that's impossible. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm just seeing things. Nah, I'm going crazy. Or somebody else tells you that story. You think the individual is nuts. Oh, nah, that don't exist. How can something like that exist? I mean, it's impossible. But let me just go back in the beginning of this journal. You driving the automobile at a different time, okay? You think it's impossible. The inventor is not in touch with quote unquote reality. You look at an airplane that you feel so comfortable and so convenient, and it's so much better than taking a boat to travel around the world. It's so fast. At one time, a lot of people think the inventor is nuts. How can you ever invent a plane? What is that? It's only that the sky is only for the birds. It's funny how the mind, the ego, it's very selective for what it believes. It's a pattern a lot of people go by. But I know a lot more people are being open-minded. There's a lot more people being more open-minded. But still, it's in my heart to express this about imagination. That a lot of people, they're still vibrating that imagination is like some bullshit thing to do. What are you doing with your time? You know, all you ever think about is one-dimensional, right? That's what your ego is playing you as. You're just thinking one-dimensional, three-dimensional. Oh, I just go do things with my hands and that's it. Duh. Whatever you do, I'm just telling you how I feel, everybody. Whatever you do, this is not to put down everybody. If you're vibrating on one-dimensional or three-dimensional, 1, 2, 3-dimensional, it doesn't make you less of a being. You're still consciousness. You're just pretending that what you do with your hands is with your hands only, and that's it. And then you go by your logical mind, and that's it. But the core mechanism of all this is your imagination. And that's the thing too about, I want to add to the journal about Albert Einstein. Yeah, I want to add this in my journal, Albert Einstein. Yeah, he's very brilliant. He leans into his logical mind, but he understands that the imagination goes far beyond the logical mind understanding. He understands that. He's open. I have a lot of respect for Albert Einstein. Imagination, there's no rules. There's none. A lot of people, look, if you want to vibrate on sky is the limit, you're going to imagine that. You're going to imagine, you're going to synchronize, and you're going to manifest that the sky's limit. And you can't go, you can only go so far, and that's it. And that's why if you look around on certain ideas that people still holding on to, that's why people still not embracing their full potential. You know? Do I believe that there's a reality that there's different airplanes that do things far different or operate far different than the modern day airplanes? Oh yeah, of course. Do I believe that, for example, a lot of people will talk about, how the so-called government are using UFOs to operate and go and travel from point A to point B in space. That's fine with me. It doesn't take anything away from me. Everything's possible. But do I see that abroad where everybody's experiencing being in these type of spacecraft to travel? Yes. There's reality that people can time travel without a machine. I mean, I've done it. I went to a different time space on my out-of-body experience. Is there a reality that people can open portals by meditation? Yep. I mean, there's been stories in this dimension that other multi-dimensional beings contacted humans by going through different dimensional doors, for example. Some places like Egypt, some places like Peru. I want to say a few things before I close out this journal. A lot of people, there's people so interested about the flat earth theory, and there's people think about the hollow earth theory. There's a lot of people are fascinated with the Antarctica, the whole story with that, with the government keeping top secrets what's going on in Antarctica. There's a big massive hole on top of Earth, and I was talking to my friend about that. It's like, well, there's a large interest about these things on the internet. A lot of people look down on people that believe in these certain things. Now, a lot of people will believe certain things, and a lot of people don't believe on certain things, because a lot of people, there's some people not vibrating on that reality. So I'm gonna put it this way: for anybody that believes that the Earth is flat, and you're fascinated, okay? Don't be surprised. You see, don't be surprised that you're gonna manifest that into your reality, and you will know what I mean. So there's a lot of people that have a large interest in this topic about the flat Earth. And so, like I said in the beginning on this journal about the big three, you imagine, synchronize, and you will manifest. So don't be surprised if you get up one morning and there's been a news flash from your major media outlet finally admits that yes, the Earth is flat. But in your own mind, it's going to be shocked. It's going to like, no, it's impossible. But no, you imagine it, you synchronize it, and you manifest that. And that is the reality, that is the Earth reality that you decided to be on. You decided to be on a flat Earth. Okay? This is how it works. That's the way life works, everybody. Okay? It makes me think of this movie Dark City, about as far as the flat Earth is a spaceship. Google that, Dark City. The movie came out, I believe, in the early 90s or late 80s, I forgot. I saw that movie a bunch of times, so Google it, check the movie out, and you see what I'm talking about. If anybody has seen the Dark City, then you know what I'm talking about. So, and then, okay, so I'm going to go to the next one, Hollow Earth, right? Same thing applies to the people that believe the flat Earth theory, right? Big three again. You imagine, synchronize, manifestation. Oh snap, wow, I'm standing on, I thought the Earth was a solid rock that's just orbiting around the solar system, right? But it's hollow, like an eggshell. Oh snap, wow, that's so scary. Don't be surprised, you know. And the Antarctica too, it's another thing a lot of people are fascinating. You know, same thing applies to that too. So life is full of possibilities, and I feel like a lot of us need to understand that truth deeper. And I know we make fun of people that believe on the silliest, stupidest things, but let's just go back what I was saying in the beginning. You look at your inventions, right? It's at a different time. It was looked at so silly and stupid and ridiculous, and yet we travel on those things on an everyday basis. So just keep an open mind, everybody. If you're not vibrating on the flat earth or the hollow earth and the Antarctica thing, that's okay. There's many different versions of earth. There is a flat earth, yes. There are many different earth versions, of course. I mean, I can say this for fun. I believe this exists, what I'm about to say now. That there is an earth that's, for example, a head of a humanoid. And we're just like different particles of that head. Yeah. And the earth have eyes, right? We see these cartoon image of earth. It has a big old smile, 2 eyes. Wow, why we do things like that? Why would we create an earth cartoon with a face? Right? We call earth Gaia. We call earth many things. But let's just stick to the idea of a face image. Wow, why do the earth has a face? Gee, I wonder why. Well, from your crazy wild imagination, yes, there is an earth that's a humanoid. That's an actual living, it's a head of a humanoid. Right? And then the earth smiles, it scratches its head, and to us small little tiny particle, little life forms, oh my God, there's an earthquake, because that's the earth scratching its head. You know? Oh, the volcano that just erupted. Oh, that's just the earth's massive pimple. That's just like some sort of hot pus that just exploded. Sorry for being gross, but I'm just using my imagination. You know? So yeah, the earth is like basically a head of a humanoid. Yeah, it smiles. The earth is in tune with you. The earth loves you, and sometimes the earth is angry at you. Yes, and us the little tiny particle of consciousness, which is the human race. Oh my God, the earth is coming back at us for revenge. Oh no, the earth is in decline. Right? We got a lot of the environmentalists believe that the earth is in decline, right? A lot of us hold up to that truth on an everyday basis. Goes back to the big three. You imagine, synchronize, manifestation. You're going to be in a world that is in complete decline. And you want to know why a lot of people are not connecting with you? Well, it's not anything to do that is anything against you. It's just that everybody is vibrating on different realities. That's just what it is. And I'm glad I'm doing this journal because it puts me in a deeper perspective. When I look at the human race and I look at, sometimes I see a lot of people not vibrating to embrace the truth about life in a much more deeper way, and a much more that's beyond Earth, this third dimensional. Even though Earth is a multi-dimensional, but I'm talking about people vibrating more beyond a third dimensional way of thinking. Like, man, it's like, it's like I feel certain ways. Like, why people seem to be stuck by choice about thinking a very limited point of view on things. Because this is what people at that time decide to vibrate on. And everything happens for a reason, and there's no mistakes. There is no accidents. So our higher self allows these things for a reason. And sometimes there is no explanation for things. It just is. And, you know, we have to gravitate to that. We have to accept that, you know, and I'm okay with it. Sometimes I like to have answers for everything, but I place myself in this human form that at a moment I'm not going to be aware of everything. But that doesn't take anything away from me. I'm still consciousness. And whatever I imagine, right? Whatever I imagine, it's going to synchronize and manifest. I mean, really, nobody's hiding anything from me. My higher self is not hiding anything from me. I made an agreement to whatever I want to know at that particular time space. There's no so-called powers that be is holding the truth. That's just complete bullshit. But that's the world that a lot of people like to live in. So you live in a world that the powers that be, so-called, are hiding the truth, and you have to constantly fight. You got to wage war against these masters, so-called, that's hiding the truth from me. So that's the world that you imagine, you synchronize, and you manifest. So keep that in mind, everybody. Think of the big three. When you look around and you look at yourself and you see why your life is where it's at today, think of the big three. That's it. There is no coincidence. There are no accidents. So imagination, there is no boundaries when it comes to imagination. So life is truly imagination. And everybody around the world, I like to also describe as, you are all craftsmen. You are the artist. You understand? You are the artist. You are the author and creator in your own path. There are no rules. You can change your path at any time. So I'm sharing the truth of life. So I do my best to make it as very, very easy and simple. And even though our minds will come up with this feeling like, this doesn't make no sense what he's talking about. Because you're vibrating, thinking things black and white. And that's it. And you know what? That's okay. Because there was a time that I think things black and white. And I couldn't see past that. I used to think things black and white, and that's it. And sometimes I still play that game of seeing things black and white. And I can't go beyond this life, this illusion. Whatever we put in place to make it some sort of predominant truth. But sometimes I play that game. But then I go deeper. I bounce back and I just decide, you know what? Okay, I know what this is. I know what life really is. There's no secret. There is no secret when it comes to about what life really is. So I think I covered a lot on imagination. I'm glad I did it. It's very, I feel very inspired. I know this journal is long. I do my best to keep it at a certain time frame. So anyway, it's just, you know, the time that time. Anyway, speaking about time, it's worth it. I'm glad. I felt excited right now doing this journal. And I'm very confident that anybody that listens to this audio, you feel excited. And I want to thank all the open-minded people that subscribe to my channel. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. And I really appreciate it. And also, if you want to drop down a donation, I really appreciate that. And yeah, I'm excited. Really am. You know, I just want you all to know that. And I want to invite you in, you know, whatever conversation I have with my friend, for example, and we have some deep conversation. I always say that a lot of my clips, a lot of the stuff behind why I record is because a lot of the conversation that we have. And I want to, again, like I said in the beginning in this journal, I want to invite everybody. I want to invite everybody in the conversation. So, okay, everyone, it's been fun doing this journal. Okay, until then, I will be back for part 66. Take care.